Rice is getting suspended. Addison's possibly getting suspended. Anthony Richardson's possibly up. We've had so many things happen today that I think fantasy football drafts tonight are going to look very different than what they've looked like over the past few months. So we are going to go ahead and we are going to get some practice in. We are going to hop in the puppy 2. Let's see what these drafts look like. We can possibly get into some higher stakes drafts afterwards, but we definitely need to be getting a sense of the board at this point, just so we have some updated strategy pieces. So we're going to be at pick 10. Pick 10's awkward depending on what makes it back to you in the second round. May not be the worst thing in the world, just going to depend on the second round availability for a lot of these players. A big 10 in round 1, you're just going to be looking at Nico Collins, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Malik Neighbors. Maybe McCaffrey falls to you, but it seems like McCaffrey's more and more often just going at pick 7 or 8. So that's going to be difficult to project out. In terms of like the Rasheed Rice impact of this, I would not begin to consider Rasheed Rice until pick 39. I don't even know if I would take Rasheed Rice at 39 in this draft. If Rice falls to us at 58, 99% chance I will take him there. And then if we're going to look at Xavier Worthy, you better believe we are going to be targeting him in round 4 unless we get a crazy fall. But we got Chris in this draft with us at pick 4. Lock screen coming in and joining as a YouTube member. Appreciate you, my friend. And thank you for everyone coming out to the stream with us. Maybe the YouTube notifications were lagging just a bit because we did live stream earlier today as well. An instant reaction with all the Rasheed Rice, Xavier Worthy, Travis Kelce rankings updates. But Underdog did release a new tournament. Stilo says, did you see the Bros Brawl tournament? Nice layout, in my opinion. This is a 6-team tournament. So it's very much more in line with like DFS best ball strategy than it would be like regular fantasy football. And mainly I am practicing for my main fantasy football leagues at the moment with these Underdog drafts. So I'm going to stick in the 12-team drafts because my league is a 12-teamer. I think you can get some practice in for 10-team drafts as well and a 12-team format. I'm going to take Nico Collins over Malik Neighbors based off the historical research we've done with wide receivers and bottom 5 offenses. Not going to fault anybody at all if they want to go Malik Neighbors at pick 10, but I'm opting to go with Puka and Nico over Neighbors myself. But yeah, I mean, if you're like in a 10 or a 12 team draft and you're doing these Underdog drafts for the purpose of like practicing, getting ready for your main league. Okay. Thank God we're actually going to get Achan. I was worried that Achan was going to go at 14 or 13 and I was going to feel a little bit worse about this start at 10, but now that we get him at 15, I'm actually freaking pumped about this. But yeah, if you are more in line with like you're a best ball veteran and you love getting in weird drafts and you think you have a pretty big edge there in a 6-team draft, by all means, go for it. But I would say definitely want to at least have some experience under your belt in Underdog drafts beforehand. Dreed says, in my opinion, Rice is likely out 4 to 8 games. Definitely shouldn't get picked before the 4th round. So we saw in the live stream earlier today, Rasheed Rice go at like pick 27 or 28 in that draft. I thought that was crazy early considering the news. We ended up taking Xavier Worthy, I think at pick 42 in that draft, which again, I think that was maybe a little late considering the news. I really like Worthy there at pick 42, but also y'all know I've been drafting Xavier Worthy in round 4 all offseason. So, I mean, I was a Worthy believer beforehand, so I'm obviously going to be a little excited about this news. And Bowers makes it down to 22. Chase Brown goes to pick 21 in this draft. Tyler says he went at pick 28 and won. Can everybody please let me know in the chat? If you've done an Underdog draft since the news broke, where did Rasheed Rice go in it, if you remember? Migs says, how do these Underdog drafts work? So they're what's called best ball. So you're not submitting your starting lineup at any point during the season. That's automatically done for you at the end of every single week with your highest potential starting lineup. So if you took like Quentin Johnston at the very end of your draft last year and he randomly had 2 receiving touchdowns in a week, then he would immediately slide into your starting lineup. Plus, you're going to be drafting super deep. So in round 18, you may be taking guys like Jalen Tolbert. And all the rosters are locked after the draft. There's no waiver wire, no weekly management, and no trades either. Rasheed Rice picked 28 in this draft. Dear God, I'm not going to draft him at all at this point. But that's why like Underdog Fantasy is not going to replace your main fantasy football league, right? It's just meant to be some extra fun on the side, be able to practice for your main draft as well. You can win crazy amount of money. Like this is a $5 buy-in, $1 million up, $1 million for grabs up at first place, $100K million prize pool, $100K for first, $75K for second, $50,000 for third, all the way down the line. But not going to replace your main fantasy league. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay. Hopefully that helped. Perfect. So it's going to be very important if you're new to Underdog is monitoring your roster construction. I'm going to take JSN here. I think that there's a shot we get one of the running backs on the way back around. I would have preferred us to get Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson, but I'm not going to cry at all about Jackson Smith and Jigba. But yeah, so Meg says, so why does stacking players from the same team do well? Stacking is a good option in every fantasy draft. It's especially important here because what stacking does in fantasy football is it correlates your lineup. If we take Nico Collins and then CJ Stroud, both running backs go, so that's a little frustrating, as well as Worthy going. So I think we're going to pivot here and we will, what do we want to do? Do we want to go? Yeah, we'll go Kittle at tight end. But anyway, if I take Kittle, I'm making a bet that the Niners offense exceeds expectations by drafting Kittle in round 4. So if I'm trying to turn $5 on 100,000, I need to get as many of my bets right as possible in this draft. So by taking Kittle and Purdy later, then I really only have to get one bet right in that instance, where I just have to get it right that the Niners offense scores more points than people are expecting in weeks 15 through 17. On the flip side of that, if I took Kittle and then instead say I took a quarterback that was completely different, I took Kittle instead of Purdy, I took Dak, I would probably have to be right about both the Niners passing offense being good and the Cowboys passing offense being good. So correlating your bets means that when you miss, you're going to miss twice, but when you hit, you're going to hit twice. So it makes it less likely that you get 6th place in your league and more likely that you get 1st or 12th. And in a tournament where it's like $5 buy-in, $100K for first, I'm not worried at all about getting 12th. My only concern is get first as much as I possibly can, right? But Andrew says, is 3-6-6-3 the general team building strategy that I should be aiming for? If you take a lot of wide receivers early, then yes, you can get away with that. However, like here where I only have 2 wide receivers for the first 4 rounds, I can't stop at only 6 receivers. I'm going to have to draft 7 or 8 on this team. So in general, you want to draft 2 to 3 quarterbacks. It's going to depend on when you took that quarterback early. Like if you took Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson, you probably shouldn't take a 3rd. You're going to draft 4 to 7 running backs, but 4 and 7 are going to be extreme instances. 99% of the time, you should draft 5 or 6 running backs. You're going to draft at the very minimum 6 receivers, but more likely than not, you're going to be looking at 7 to 8. And then you're going to draft 2 to 3 tight ends. And then if you took like Bowers, McBride, or Kittle, you should probably only draft 2. If you wait to get Dallas Goedert or Dalton Kincaid as your first tight end, you should probably take 3. Yes, it's going to be very bad to take a 4th quarterback. Never take a 4th quarterback. Tom says correlations are a double-edged sword. Not sure if it makes sense in a standard league. So just as an example, y'all know I'm prepping for the Flock League, right? I mean, I care more about winning that than anything on Underdog, to be completely honest with you. And the Flock League, if I have a garbage team, if I have to fire up the camera every single day and talk about me being dead last in the league and having every single person make fun of me, that is a terrifying, terrifying possibility. Here, I think we are going to go with Alvin Kamara. Kamara a little less exciting in a half PPR format than he would be in a full PPR league. So if you are like, or if you have a last place punishment in your league where it's brutal, right? You have to go spend 24 hours at Waffle House. Correlating your lineup may not be the best thing because while it does increase the probability you get first, it also increases the probability you get 12th. We'll take Joe Mixon. I'm not doing this very often at all. But I don't know if there are going to be many Kamara Mixon teams in this tournament. So we'll take Mixon, double down on the Texans offense while having Nico Collins. But now we are going to be behind the 8-ball at wide receiver, and we're going to be playing wide receiver catch up over the next few rounds. So like, again, if you're terrified of getting 12th place, you probably shouldn't stack and you probably shouldn't correlate your lineup. If you're in a league where it's like, hey, honestly, I don't really care if I get 12th or 6th. I just want to give myself the highest probability possible at winning the first place prize, actually taking home the money. You should still probably stack in your regular redraft league. It won't be as important as it will be in these large field tournaments, but it's still going to be important nonetheless, and I would still recommend it nonetheless. But, of course, Limerent says, how do we play in the Flock League? It's exclusive. I'm sorry. There'll be Flock tournaments on Underdog, but like the Flock League YouTube channel with all like the YouTubers and people on the site on it. Yeah, that's like an invite only thing. I'm sorry. But I did get official word from Underdog that they're going to have Flock draft tournaments starting, I think they said August, and it'll be every Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday. We'll be dropping Flock tournaments for everyone. But of course, if you wanted to get into any of the Underdog drafts, get some practice in for your regular redraft league. I always leave the link in the description, comment section, live chat where it says draft with us here. And if you use code FLOCK, you will get a 50% deposit bonus up to $1,000. Plus, at the same time, you will get all my 2025 fantasy football rankings as well as draft guide cheat sheets. So definitely take advantage of that. However, you do need to be in one of these states to draft on Underdog. It's in Texas, it's in Florida, it's in New York, it's in all the big ones. But they are very strict about this. So like, you're not going to be able to get around it. You cannot enter into a contest unless you are currently in that state. But let's move this back. Matthew Golden off the board at 76. Not great for us because, again, we are in a position where we need to be slamming wide receivers. So when we see Matthew Golden, Jaden Reed, Jacoby Myers, Ricky Pearsall off the board, not the best. Okay. Aaron Jones, 79. Stephon Diggs goes 80. I can't take Sam Laporta here with us having Kittle. So, I mean, the hope for us would be Laporta goes before, but not a guarantee. We only have 2 wide receivers and we have Kittle. So, thank God he goes. We're going to take Shakir. Y'all know I'm trying to get as much exposure to the Bills wide receivers as I possibly can. What's interesting is the team at 12 also only has 2 receivers with Malik Neighbors and Xavier Worthy. So you'd assume that they're prioritizing wide receiver with these picks, but they do have Worthy for a potential Mahomes stack. So they could possibly go Mahomes, but no, they go with Josh Downs, Darnell Mooney, Baker Mayfield off the board. I am just simply falling behind at receiver. We need to take more of these names. We will grab Igbuka. We already have some veteran crusty guys that are probably decent with production at the beginning of the year. Maybe we can just look for some late season upside. And then, I don't know. He's our wide receiver 4. It's best ball. We're not going to have to predict when he has his big weeks. So I'm fine just grabbing this profile here because he's a great prospect. Ronald says, Mason, do you know a good divorce lawyer? My wife just saw your face for the first time and she said she thought you were just average looking. I can't imagine what she says behind my back. Okay. Ronald. I got even worse news to break for you. 1, this is far from the first time that your wife has seen my face. Far from it. Okay. Secondly, she has said a lot of things about my appearance and my looks before, but has never said average. So I'm sorry that I'm the one that has to break this for you. I agree, probably best to start looking for a divorce lawyer sometime soon. And I'm pretty sure we have a support group in the Discord if you need some help with that. But Tech says, are Judkins, Ayuk, and Rice all in the same tier? Not at all. I would way rather have Rice than the other 2. Askcat says, does Mahomes move up or down after the Rice news? there is no way you can make an argument that Patrick Mahomes moves up. I'm not really going to be moving Mahomes down my rankings much, but there's no way I can make an argument that he's moving up my rankings. Trav Snow says, Mason, do you know a good divorce lawyer? Don't know. I can't say that. My non-existent wife saw my Rasheed Rice and Jonnu Smith exposure. Ooh. Well, that's a sad statement, my friend. That is a sad statement. But let's move this down. Tate says, strategy for the 6-person draft badge Bros Brawl. So 6-person drafts, running back, wide receiver scarcity is not going to be as much as it will be in a 12-teamer. The elite quarterbacks and the elite tight ends are going to be worth more than they otherwise would be. So you push up Lamar, you push up Allen, you push up Hurts, you push up Daniels, you push up all the elite quarterbacks. And then you also push up the elite tight ends like Brock Bowers and Trey McBride. Now, I would say that it's going to be a little bit more in line with a DFS style contest. So to just be completely honest with you, I'm probably not going to be able to give you the best advice for a tournament like that. Just because I am a fantasy football season long guy first, like a best ball guy second. And I think a 6-person tournament, the people that are probably going to do very well there are the DFS people. King Rube says, keep spamming the divorce chats till Mason says, I can say divorce, but divorce lawyer was tough to say back to back for whatever reason. Voss channel says, Mason, if I win Best Ball Mania with just one team drafted, can I come on a live stream? Not only can you come on the live stream, but you can possibly buy my YouTube channel with the new funding that you just got from winning Best Ball Mania. I can do one better for you. I think we're going to take Caleb here. We're falling behind at quarterback quickly. There are some Bears options that we can look at later on. And to be frank, we just need some quarterback points in here. Like, we're going to take 3 quarterbacks no matter what. So we can stack our 2 separate quarterbacks if we don't stack Caleb. Caleb will have some rushing upside as well. But all jokes aside, this is an open invite to anybody watching this. If y'all win Best Ball Mania and you win $2 million this year in that underdog tournament, I would love to have you on the channel. I would love for you to come on here with me. Steve says, Mason, do you know a good divorce lawyer? I was just seen at a Coldplay concert with my HR girl. Yeah, that I had to bring my girlfriend in to show her that video. I thought it was so funny. Clutch Smitty says, thanks, Mason. Help me win my 14-team league back-to-back years. That's incredible, my friend. Okay. Najee goes 114. Sharp goes 113. It'd have been great for us to get Luther Burden on the way back around, but was unlikely, of course. I'm not sitting here holding my breath, assuming that we're going to get Luther Burden at pick 130. One thing that will be interesting to note is where Hollywood Brown ends up going with this news. Because obviously Hollywood has to be a riser. K-Rob says, best I can offer is the $20K win from the $1 buy-in tournament. Take it or leave it. I'll take it. If anybody wins the $1 tournament underdog hat as well, you can come on. Okay. Let's see. Hollywood Brown ends up going off the board at 122. I mean, in comparison to the wide receivers that he goes alongside, Kirk, Shaheed, Luther Burden, going this far behind Rashad Bateman, like, I don't know if Bateman's that much better of a play than Hollywood. So, like, it's tough looking at Hollywood next to, like, the quarterbacks and tight ends. Like, in a vacuum, I still think you want David Njoku here over the wide receivers. But if you're desperate for a receiver in rounds like 10, 11, 12, where we typically want to be avoiding them, Hollywood's not a bad option. Like, you can make an argument to take Hollywood over Keon Coleman, where I took Keon Coleman at 106. I mean, clearly I'm not doing that. I took Keon here instead, but I wouldn't fault you for it. Paul says, do you recommend playing every team to advance or trying to optimize for deep playoff runs? It depends on the tournament. High stakes tournament with a smaller field where in weeks 15, 16, you're going up against like 5 other teams in your pool or 4 other teams in your pool. I'm just trying to advance. If you're in like a puppy draft where it's a $5 buy-in, $1 million prize pool, you probably need to optimize for weeks 15, 16, 17. Try to score the most amount of points that you can during that time period to hopefully make a deep playoff run. Tucker Craft goes, thank God for us. We are getting, not thank God for us, thank God for this draft. We are getting Loveland to pair up with Caleb Williams. I didn't want to say it previously when we were taking Caleb, but that was definitely the target when we took Caleb in round 10, that we got Loveland on the way back around in round 11. Don't think that's a surprise to really anybody here. And then what we're going to do with our next pick, the team right ahead of us already has 3 quarterbacks, so they're not going to take a 4th. We will take CJ Stroud to pair up with Nico Collins. So overall, I really like our squad. I think we've done about, okay, this is, let me move this over. I think we've done about the best job we could. Wide receiver, we have Nico, JSN, Shakir, Egbuka, Keon Coleman. Running back, we have Chan, Kamara, Joe Mixon. Tight end, we have Kittle and Loveland. Quarterback, we have Caleb stacked with Loveland, and we have Stroud stacked with Nico. So soy sauce is how was the nightstand, Mason? Okay, I saw this and then initially like gulped because for whatever reason, I read that as you were the guy that I got the nightstand off of, and I was like, oh my gosh, did this guy recognize me? That is embarrassing. But I then remember that I told y'all that I had to go pick up the nightstand in the previous live stream. So got 2 nightstands off Facebook Marketplace. I don't know if your ladies are the same as mine, but they were about the same as the nightstands that we already had. But for whatever reason, we need to change something with our bedroom every 3 months. Or God knows what will happen. But every 3 months, we got to change something. So the nightstands are about the same as the ones we previously had. But it was $100. We'll sell the ones that we previously had on Facebook Marketplace for probably like 80. So we'll end up costing $20 to make the lady happy. So they're fine. But let's see. Voss Channel says, is there data on if strategies differ from year to year and what works in best ball? So every year it's different because the board's different, right? So the first year, wide receivers were very much undervalued. So the play was to draft all your running backs early and then wide receivers through the middle rounds. And then just get as many wide receiver values as you can. But since then, wide receiver value has dried up. So what you really have to do is you have to take it by a year basis. Like, as an example, back in year 2 of Best Ball Mania, or was it year 3? It was year 3 whenever we had the crazy results winning all the tournaments. Not all the tournaments, but you get the point. Elite quarterback was the go-to strategy, and that's what won myself and a lot of other people a significant amount of money. And then the next year, people looked at the year prior and went, oh, all the elite quarterbacks won people leagues in the previous season when they were getting drafted in round 5. I guess that means I need to draft the elite quarterbacks in rounds 1 or 2 now. And then, of course, that didn't work out, and those teams lost. So the one thing that remains consistent in best ball drafts and kind of fantasy football drafts at large is just copying and pasting what won the previous season is probably a recipe to lose the following year. We'll just take Leggett and Romeo Doubs here. Like Leggett, Romeo Doubs, perfect example of players that can make difference in a best ball draft that I would never draft in the flock league because what's the upside? There is none. So we'll take him here. Hopefully we get a couple usable weeks out of him. We still need a wide receiver, right? Because we only took 2 wide receivers through the first 6 rounds. First 6 rounds, we had 3 running backs and a tight end. So wide receiver is definitely the weakest spot on our team, but I feel like we've done an okay job playing catch up here. Okay. Bobbert says, what we learned is don't do what everybody else is doing. That is a general good strategy. Andrew says, speaking of high-end quarterbacks, why does Hurts go later than the other few elite quarterbacks? I honestly prefer Hurts to Daniels. I think that's a great point, my friend. I think I am personally going to start mixing in Jalen Hurts more in round 4 Y'all know Devonta Smith's one of my most drafted wide receivers because Jalen Hurts used to go in round 5 a lot and used to be able to get Smith and Hurts at the 4 or 5 turn, which was a beauty. Okay, Jason says, not Palmer. I thought you wanted Buffalo receivers. I mean, we're sitting with Keon Coleman, Shakir already, and we have no Josh Allen. So I don't necessarily think we need 3 Buffalo wide receivers when we already have 2 and we don't have the quarterback. Let's see. Rodgers goes 169. Dylan Sampson off 170. Obviously, Sampson the big riser with the Judkins news. Like, we've had a lot of news over the past week. Gesicki off the board. Good for us to see as many tight ends go as possible. Like, the ideal thing for us is just to get every tight end off the board because we drafted Kittle at the beginning of round 4 and then we took Loveland as well. So we can't take another tight end. Every other position still in play for us. 15, 16, 17, 18. We got 4 picks, 2 of which are going to be running backs. We need at least 1 more wide receiver. This is definitely going to be an 8 wide receiver build. Okay. Thank God that team went Wandale. They only had 1 quarterback, so I was worried about them going Darnold. But we are going to get Darnold ourselves. We needed a 3rd quarterback for this roster, and we have JSN, so super, super easy pick. That's an auto pick for us. And now we just need to draft 2 running backs and then a receiver. Roshan goes 180. I would have taken Roshan on the way back. This team has 0 tight ends. We're in the final 3 rounds. So we're just going to have to take 3 tight ends. So full transparency, my favorite wide receiver in this range is Michael Wilson. But when we have CJ Stroud, I'll break the tie and I'll go with Jalen Noel. I already have way more Michael Wilson than I do Jalen Noel. So we'll take him as our wide receiver 8. And then we're going to have to get 2 running backs at the very end of this. So hopefully the old crusty guys with Kamara and Joe Mixon stay healthy this year, because if not, our running back room is going to be toast. But if they do stay healthy, I mean, we actually have a great team. Caleb with Loveland, Stroud with Nico and Noel, Darnold with JSN at quarterback. I like the quarterback room. Tight end, Kittle and Loveland. I love the tight end room. Wide receiver, Nico, JSN, Shakir, Egbuka, Keon, Leggett, Dobbs, Jalen Noel. I think it's a decent wide receiver room. And then running back, we have Achane, Mixon, Kamara, and then 2 bum running backs at the very end. So let's see. Jared says, so since the winner last year won while having the Bengals onslaught, and therefore everyone's focus is forcing an entire team of players on the same squad this year, is that probably now a bad strategy? So yes, just in case you didn't know, last year, not everybody, but last year somebody won Best Ball Mania and won millions of dollars by just drafting every Cincinnati Bengal. They took Joe Burrow, they took Jamar Chase, they took T. Higgins, they took Chase Brown, they took Mike Gesicki, they took Jermaine Burton. They had every Bengal and they won millions of dollars from it. And full transparency, I used to say that wasn't ideal. I used to say, you know what? If we're chasing the highest ceiling possible in the final 3 weeks, to have 5 of our picks come from a single offense, 6 of our picks come from a single offense, it maybe actually lowers our weekly upside. So I used to, whenever I had 4 players on a team, kind of stop myself and go, I'm not taking a 5th guy from this singular offense. So how I personally been making the adjustments for myself is I'm not going out of my way trying to build out these offenses. We're going to take Miles Sanders here, running back. I'm not trying to build out these offenses or these teams just centered around a singular offense. I'm not going out of my way to do it, but I'm no longer stopping myself because clearly I was wrong thinking that was a bad thing if it won millions of dollars last year. Yes, the Badge Bro Brawl is new on Underdog. Alcoholic Saints fan does not like the Miles Sanders pick. I'm fine with it. We're going to take DJ Giddens as well. We're going to be boring and double tap the top 2 running backs at ADP because I do think that they are the best picks on the board here. Overall, I actually really like our draft. I think we did well, and I'm excited for this team. But let's see. Let's move over. So we have about 50 days till the NFL season gets here. And we know at the same time that we are going to be doing a ton of those flock tournaments in August. So I actually probably need to start getting in some more Best Ball Mania drafts. So I'm going to go ahead and hop in BBM. And this is that tournament that's millions of dollars on Underdog, right? This is a $15 million prize pool, $25 buy-in. I have made it to the finals in this tournament twice. My highest finish ever in this tournament is 16th place, which would be good for $70K this year. But if you want to know how you turn $25 into 2 million or a million, whatever it may be, here's the advancement structure. So you're going to go up against the 11 people you draft with in weeks 1 through 14. The 2 highest scoring teams will advance to the fantasy football playoff tournament, where in week 15, you'll go up against 12 people. If you're the highest scoring team, you'll go to week 16, where you play 15 other people. And if you're the highest scoring team, you advance to week 17, where you have to go up against 538 other people. And then there, for the highest scoring team, you turn $25 into 2 million. Second highest scoring team, you turn $25 into a million. Third highest scoring team, $25 into 500K, and then all the way down the line. But let's move this over. Quincy says, how much did you spend on drafts the year you placed 17th? So like I said, I think I placed 16th place in Best Ball Mania that year. And my buy-in that year, total amount, off the top of my head, I would guess about 9,000, and we won about 150 something. It's been so long ago that whenever I say I won 150,000, I don't know if that's pure winnings or if that's I won 159,000 and then I subtracted the $9,000 we entered. To be completely honest with you, I don't know. But we get pick 10 again. So if we are able to do something similar in this draft to what we did in the last one, I will be pretty excited about it. We do have Draco in this draft with us at 11. We have Kale in this draft with us at 4. We have Twinsky in this draft with us at 1. Okay, CMC goes at pick 7. Let's move this down. Neighbors off at 8. Y'all know I wasn't really considering Neighbors there myself over some of these wide receivers and better offenses. So we will have the same start as what we did in the last one. We will take Nico Collins here at receiver. Again, I personally, due to the projection with the Giants offense, would prefer Puka, Nico, St. Brown over Malik Neighbors myself. I'm not going to fault you at all for taking Malik Neighbors there, though. I make an argument that he is the top 3 talent in the NFL right now at receiver, only behind Jefferson and Lamb. Not saying that's 100% the case, but you can make that argument. Okay, let's see where Boosted goes. AJ Brown at 13, so this guarantees us one of the running backs. We are going to get Achane here as well. I prefer Achane over Derrick Henry myself. I think I can make an argument that I prefer Achane over Ashton Jeanty. So super excited to have this start. And it's very clearly the same start we had in the last draft. So nothing changed so far through the first 2 rounds. In round 3 in the last one, we went with JSN. In round 4 in the last one, we went with George Kittle. Maybe we'll see if that repeats itself here or if we're looking at a different build. Chaz says, what's your least favorite spot to pick at? I feel like picks, to be honest with you, the first 4 picks feel tough for me. Which seems like the opposite of how it's been over the past few years. And if you look at the historical math, it's kind of been beneficial to pick at the top of drafts more times than not. So I would like to say the early picks are maybe the worst picks, but at the same time, I don't know. It hasn't been the case historically. Torsten says, how many miles do you run each week for your training for the ultra marathon? Okay, so how many am I doing right now? Full transparency. I've been a lazy bum since the ultra marathon, which it was 6 weeks ago at this point. So I have no excuse. I'm telling myself every day, I need to start eating healthy again. I need to start getting back into it. But like for the 100-mile race, like the 3 weeks right before, I couldn't really work out, right? I mean, I somewhat did, but you have to do like a very hard and very aggressive taper to make sure your body's ready to run 100 miles. And then I was so wrecked after the race that I wasn't able to work out really for like another 2 weeks. And we had to do the cross country move at the same time. So my running volume's been very bad lately. I'm working myself back up to it. But the biggest week that I had, we're going to take Terry here. Y'all know I'm not the biggest Terry guy, but we can get Daniels on the way back around. And I know some people are worried about Terry no longer being a commander this season, but my guess would be that the situation ends up playing itself out. But the peak that we had training wise, let me pull up the little Google sheet that I had, because we had a Google sheet tracking all our training numbers. In like the off season before we start streaming every single day, this has been the case the past 2 years. It's like I've been super on top of working out, super in it, doing extremely well. And then once we do our big race, last year was the Ironman in June. This year it was the 100-mile ultra in June. We start to get lazy. Okay, do we have... No, I'm trying to find this Google sheet. We definitely did 100 miles in our peak week. But not only 100 miles, we did a bunch of vert gain as well. I can't find it. But Jaden Daniels actually goes before us, which is pretty frustrating whenever we took Terry to get Daniels. But what ends up happening is because Daniels goes there at pick 37, we do get JSN making it at 39. And if you look at the ADP for Terry and JSN, both being mid-third round picks pretty much all offseason at this point, I will say you're going to have very few teams with this combo of Nico, HN, Terry, JSN. So after going with Terry in round 3, like obviously our plan A is Jaden Daniels in round 4, but it's not a bad consolation at all to get JSN here instead. Like if JSN would have gone where Amari and Hampton did, and I would have just had to take Amari and Hampton at 39, I would have been a little more frustrated about this. But like honestly, if anything, I like the ADP value that we get. Lee says, Mike Williams retired, Big Q and Trey Harris to the moon. Okay, so y'all know Quentin Johnston is my most drafted player. We've planted our flag saying very early in the offseason that he was the best pick on the board. Gone on other shows now at this point, trying to convince other creators, hey, this is why he is the best pick on the board. And it does seem like the Big Q is moving up in a big time way. What I think's going to end up happening is I think he's maybe going to move up so much to the point where he's no longer a massive value, because in reality, Mike Williams wasn't going to be anything this year anyway. So if the Big Q ends up being 5 rounds more expensive in August than he was when we were drafting him in April, May, June, and then he doesn't return value on that new cost of him being way more expensive, if y'all come at me and try to act as if I was drafting him when he was super expensive in August and September and ignore the fact that we got him at that massive value early in the offseason, I'll be upset. So I'm not going to stand by him being the best pick all offseason regardless of cost. But we'll see. Okay, Romadunce goes pick 56. See what this team does ahead of us. Y'all know I'm fine going with Kamara here. We did in the last draft. Kamara is my favorite running back in this range. I think we can take a third running back as well here at pick 63, which I'll probably opt to not go with Joe Mixon If we were looking at a wide receiver here, my guy would probably be Chris Godwin. Okay. Sword says he did 2 Badge Bro drafts 3 hours ago. He got Rasheed Rice with pick 74 and 1. And the first draft, Rasheed went at pick 28. Where did Rasheed Rice go in our draft? Because it does seem like he is consistently going earlier than I would take him. He went at pick 31 in this one. I'm not taking him at 31. So I'm probably not going to have much Rasheed Rice over the next few weeks. And we're just going to take Joe Mixon again for kind of the same reason we did in the last draft. Mixon at pick 63 with Kamara at pick 58 will not be a combo people have very often. I think we can very easily afford a running back pick here when we already have Nico, Terry, and JSN. So, like I said, if I was going to look to take a receiver, my receiver would have been Chris Godwin. He goes the pick right before us. So, we'll just have the unique combo Mixon, 2 old crusty veterans that hopefully can hold up. I mean, we don't really need both of them to hold up as long as they both do something during and at the beginning of the season, and then one of them is still there for us at the end of the year. It's a decent outcome considering the cost of these 3 guys. Okay, Gary says he just went at pick 48 in his underdog draft. I have yet to see, this is maybe the latest I've seen Rasheed Rice go at pick 31. And again, I don't even know if I would take Rice at 39. And maybe I'm way wrong on this because again, going back to it, in these underdog tournaments, you should be optimizing for points in weeks 15 through 17. So if you think Rice crushes in weeks 15 through 17, you go ahead and you take him. Tanner Rich asking Keenan Allen back to LA. I've seen some people speculate on that, but in reality, like in my opinion, there's like no overlap between Keenan Allen, the player, and Mike Williams, the player, in terms of the roles that they would have in that offense. Like, if Vlad McConkey got injured and if Vlad McConkey was out for the season, there I would 100% say, like, oh, Keenan Allen back to the Chargers. Like, I don't know if Mike Williams retiring has any impact there. Okay, the Rice team takes Mahomes, so the worthy team doesn't get him. Tony Pollard off the board at 80. We can go with the tight end with this pick, but I would definitely prefer a receiver. Let's see. Like, I'll take Laporta if Laporta falls. If not, we go Diggs. Ayuk goes. So we will take Sam Laporta here at pick 82. Almost no matter what, looking at the quarterback options that we're going to have, JSN, Darnold's not that exciting. Terry, Jaden Daniels is already off the board. We kind of do need to put ourselves in a position here with whatever wide receiver that we take with our next pick, which probably will be a receiver, that their quarterback's going to be available to us later in this draft. But this team on the clock right now only had 2 receivers, so not surprising at all to see them take Darnell Mooney here at 84. So Hawkinson goes 85. That's great for us after we took. So we just need wide receiver. We're going to take Shakir. I know we just talked about like getting a wide receiver where their quarterback's going to be available to us later. When I said that, I was looking at Darnell Mooney. The issue with like us going like, oh, we need a wide receiver where their quarterback's available later. Egbuka is the other option. Baker Mayfield already went. Michael Pittman Jr., I can't tell you who the starting quarterback will be there. Cooper Kupp, we already have JSN for the Darnold option. Jaden Higgins, we already have Nico Collins for the Stroud option. Keon Coleman, same thing as Shakir. Josh Allen's already off the board. So while I would definitely have preferred taking a receiver with that pick where their quarterback would have been an option for us late, sadly, that just wasn't really a possibility outside of Stephon Diggs and Darnell Mooney at pick 87. So we'll just take Shakir. I think he's the best player on the board. Think he's the best wide receiver on the board. Y'all know I didn't draft a lot of him last year, but I think he's a much better pick this season than he was last season. Okay. Then he says, my wife got me a Mr. Pip shirt after watching the stream. If that is true, that is hilarious, my guy. That is hilarious. Hunter says, do you ever watch your old drafts? You should make a reaction video of the teams who won/made Best Ball Mania. I did not check last year if the team that made it to the finals of Best Ball Mania, if we live streamed that team, that draft. If we would have won Best Ball Mania, I can guarantee you I would have checked. I would have messaged my contact at Underdog saying like, hey, what day did I draft this team? I would have gone and looked at the live stream to see if I would have taken it there. But and I know I've told this story before, but last year when I got that team to the finals in BBM, it was similar to the squad we have now. Like, it was built around Nico Collins. It was like built around the Texans-Ravens game. We had Lamar, Flowers, Likely, Nico, and then CJ Stroud crapped the bed on Christmas. But I spent all week convincing myself I was about to win millions of dollars. I was convinced. You couldn't have told me otherwise. So once we lost, I was legitimately devastated. Like, I was very upset. It ruined my Christmas. What's not going to ruin my Christmas is taking Quinshon Judkins here at 106. Such a natural pick whenever we're sitting with Kamara and Mixon for early season production, and we can just take Judkins for late season upside. Super, super easy selection at 106. Okay. Dobbins goes 107. Running back's not our number one priority at this point. We'd have a couple different plays here. Boosted goes Lawrence 108. Trey Harris goes 109. I need to do a little bit of research real quick. Drake May off the board. Okay, let me pull this up. 2 Goff. Okay. We're going to take Caleb Williams. We're going to roll the dice. This is 100% us taking a risk in this draft. We need quarterback points. No, we don't have a bear, but we're going to take 3 quarterbacks regardless with this team. So if we whiff out on our Caleb stacks later, we will indeed just take 2 more quarterbacks that do stack with our team, that hopefully then at that point would be the guys that spike for us in weeks 15 through 17. And we would just use the Caleb points to get us to the fantasy football playoffs. Now, again, 100% willing to admit that this is a risk. With that being said, this is a $25 buy-in, $2 million first place prize tournament. For us to turn $25 into $2 million, for us to get this team to finish 16th place again, I have to get lucky in week 17. I have to get lucky in week 16. I have to get lucky in week 15. I have to get lucky in weeks 1 through 14. And I have to get lucky during the draft. Maybe I'm naive, but I don't know if I'm going to win $2 million by playing it safe when we draft these teams. So we'll take the quarterback that I think is just going to score the most points here. Okay. Sir Bob says, where did you end up placing with that Best Ball Mania finish? To be completely honest with you, I do not remember. It was in the hundreds. The team that we got to the finals in Best Ball Mania last year was not even remotely close to winning it. And we knew that immediately after Christmas because we needed Nico Collins blow-up game. We needed a Zay Flowers blow-up game. It didn't happen with either guy. So, to just be completely honest, when I spent all Christmas convincing myself I was about to win millions of dollars, wasn't the top of priority for me to sweat out the rest of week 17 to determine if I was going to win 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, or 6,000. So all I can tell you is it was not close to the top. It wasn't close to like the 16th place finish that we had a couple years back. Andrew, yes, we'll get in a third draft tonight. Don't worry. McCarthy, Dak both go. Stroud off the board is brutal for us. Obviously, we wanted Stroud with the Nico pairing. Checking out this team, they have Christian Kirk, so it's somewhat understandable, but at the same time, they took Mahomes at 79, took Purdy at 103. So I don't even know if I would have taken a third quarterback if I were them. We will take Loveland at pick 130. We will be done drafting tight ends at this point. We are going to pair up Loveland with Caleb Williams, just like we did in the last draft. Now at this point, we are just looking at quarterbacks, running backs, and receivers. Hollywood Brown would have been our pick at 135. Love the selection from Draco there at 131. If we decided to take a running back with this next pick, we are then going to be done drafting running backs. Dallas Goedert goes 132. That's good news for us. Okay. Quarterback's going to get ugly. It's just the fact of the matter. But if we're looking at wide receivers that are available right now, like their quarterbacks are gone. Right? It's not like I can take Kyle Williams and then get Drake May later. Drake May's already off the board. We're going to scroll down. We're going to take Quentin Johnston. Y'all know I've been making arguments all offseason when Quentin Johnston was going like 5 picks behind it's 5 rounds behind Kyle Williams and Marvin Mims that Quentin Johnston was ahead of them in my rankings. And here I think we can just put the stamp on that. We can take the big Q over Kyle Williams. I wouldn't do this if I was like pick 138 or something and I thought there was a chance we would get him on the way back around. But there's no way in hell I'm getting Quentin Johnston on the way back around at 154. Judd says the team needs Fields. Well, bad news for us. Justin Fields went 5 rounds ago. So we will not get him. Michael says, Mason, if you win Best Ball Mania, would you go streaking in your Kleins? So I don't want to give away the bet, but in reality, I'm never going to win Best Ball Mania. So let me just tell you what I'm going to do right now. So if y'all remember, like when we were in play to win a couple tournaments last year, like we were leading multiple tournaments, not last year, a couple years back, we live streamed that Monday night game just so we could have like, hey, I got $150,000 on the line. Let's see if we win it. If it looks like on Monday night, hypothetically, I obviously didn't do this last year because I knew immediately Wednesday night on the Christmas slate that my team had no shot to win. But if it looks like on Monday night, we are having a shot to win the entire thing, like whether I'm currently in the lead of it or I'm 5 points back with this wide receiver to go, whatever it may be, I will show up to this live. Well, obviously we're going to stream it and I'm going to wear, like, I'm going to dress as if I'm like Mr. Peanut or the Monopoly Man. I'm going to have a black suit, top hat, monocle, and I'll dress as if I'm the richest person on this planet. Whip says, how are you comfortable taking Judkins? We took him right before J.K. Dobbins, Zach Charbonnet, Cam Scatterbo. That's why. Okay, so what the hell can I do at this point? Oh my gosh. We can take Garindo and call it a day at running back. We are just quarterback and wide receiver through the rest of this draft. Thank God we see some running backs go after our Garindo pick. This team's probably done a quarterback with Daniels. Thank God we get Tua. We're going to get Tua to pair up with Devon Achane. Is this the number one stack you want with Tua, or would you prefer Tua with Tyreek? Prefer him with Waddle? You'd probably prefer him with Tyreek or Waddle. But Achane, 100% a back that will get used as a receiver. So, this draft's coming together. So, quarterback, we have Caleb paired up with Loveland. We have Tua paired up with Achane. Wide receiver, we have Nico Collins, Terry McLaurin, JSN, Shakir, Quentin Johnston. Running back, I have Achane, Kamara, Mixon, Judkins, Garindo. Tight end, I have Sam Laporta and Loveland. Very excited about this team. Waller obviously is a viable stack with Tua as well. The difficulty for us is we already took Laporta as well as Loveland. So, I don't know if we can take a third tight end. If we could take a third tight end, I would. But probably not. Okay. Judd says, I said Fields, meant AR, sucks getting old. Realistically, this is a team where you could go with an unstacked Anthony Richardson and you could just hope for the Anthony Richardson spike weeks rushing, right? Like that 100% would be in play for us. Because you don't need Richardson stacked up. Zach Ertz goes. I think this... I don't know. Let me zip it. Darnold goes. Okay. Do we want to take Rodgers and then Calvin Austin, Roman Wilson, or do we want to take an unstacked Anthony Richardson? Here's what we're going to do. We're going to take Alec Pierce because we need a wide receiver no matter what. If we go Alec Pierce here, it gives us the option to stack Richardson. But at the same time, we could still go Rodgers with this next pick at 183. So this Alec Pierce pick kind of gives us the best of both worlds, gives us time to think. The only scenario in which we get hosed is if Rodgers and Richardson both go off between our picks, but that was very unlikely and neither do. So here's the thought process, full transparency, full honesty. If I was just trying to advance as many teams as I possibly could, I would 100% take Aaron Rodgers here. Aaron Rodgers, we know is going to be starting 17 weeks. However, with that being said, is there a ceiling for Aaron Rodgers in week 17 to win us the $2 million? Probably not. Like, we got 17 weeks out of Rodgers last year with a much better supporting cast. Like, that is very important to note, right? Like, Rodgers last year had Garrett Wilson, he had Devontae Adams, and at the same time, he had Breece Hall. And we saw him play an entire season where he had 2 games with more than 21 fantasy points out of the 17 that he played. Now, if we go ahead and if we pull up Richardson, obviously we have some games in here which he didn't play fully. Like, he played week 1, week 2, week 3, week 7, week 8, week 11, week 12, week 13, week 15. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We had Richardson for half a season last year. And he had 4 games of the 9 that he started where he dropped 20 fantasy points. We go back to 2023 and we have a season where he started 2 games, and in those 2 games he played a full 2 games where he scored 20.9 and 29.6 fantasy points. So while Richardson, we don't have anything close to the floor with this dude. He could very easily start 0 games this next season. We do have a much higher ceiling from a fantasy football perspective. So like, do I think we get more usable weeks if Anthony Richardson starts 8 weeks this year, or if Aaron Rodgers starts 17? We probably get more usable weeks in best ball from Anthony Richardson in that instance, with a higher weekly ceiling. The question is he starting in weeks 15 through 17? So this pick makes it less likely that we advance to the playoff tournament, but it makes it more likely that we win the playoff tournament if we are able to get there. Okay. So Jackson Dart goes pick 200. We're just going to take 2 wide receivers here. I mean, we're great at running back. Achane, Kamara, Mixon, Judkins, Garindo. Tight end, Laporta, Loveland. Quarterback, Caleb, Tua, Richardson. Darius Slayton's going to be on the field a bunch. We will get usable weeks. Darius Slayton's the perfect best ball guy that is useless in your regular fantasy football league. And wide receiver's not bad. I mean, we have Nico Collins, Terry, JSN. Like, JSN is your wide receiver 3 in my mind's great. Shakir, wide receiver 4, solid. The Big Q, wide receiver 5. Alec Pierce, Darius Slayton, and these classic best ball options here at wide receiver 6 and 7. And we'll probably, we need Richardson spike weeks for this team. So we're probably going to take Adonai Mitchell here. Pick 207 as well. Forrest says, Mason, watch a lot of college ball. Alec Ayomanor, give us a quick profile of that guy. So I definitely focus in a lot of the rookie running backs, wide receivers, tight ends coming in. Quarterbacks, I just kind of trust NFL talent evaluators are going to do a better job than I can. But I will not be able to say I watch a ton of college football. Like, I truly don't. Now, I do have a strong take with Alec Ayomanor. You have one super, super strong game where he goes up against Travis Hunter. Absolutely puts on a clinic, highlight reel that everybody wants to focus in on. But if you look at the advanced analytics of his profile, from a metrics perspective, very uninspiring. He's like one of those players that the film guys are going to have to try to convince you that you should like. And at the same time, like, I made a video early in the offseason for the Dynasty channel when he was getting hyped to be like an early second round NFL draft pick. Just explaining why, like, hey, I'm not interested in this dude in Dynasty if he goes here. For the reason that his prospect profile wasn't great. However, he falls to day 3 of the NFL draft, so that's even less exciting. But he cost you nothing. He's a round 18 pick. So because he's a round 18 pick, I wouldn't fault you for a second if you wanted to take him. Like, he's cheap enough where most players in round 18 are going to be bad, right? Like, we go ahead and we take Adonai Mitchell in the last round of our last draft. Realistically, can I tell you that Adonai Mitchell's going to do anything this season? I'm going to take Bijan here. Or do we? Rice isn't available at the 2-3 turn anymore. Yeah, we're going to take Bijan. My favorite draft spots are picks 11 and 12, probably. If not picks 11 and 12, pick 6. Okay, Jefferson goes at 4. Lamb goes at 5. Gibbs off at 6. So Ben says, Mason, what are your thoughts on Jalen Milroe? End of draft, high rushing upside, and he'll start if Darnold sucks or gets hurt. So my thing is, I think if you hit on like a super low owned running back or wide receiver that has a lot of upside around 18, it can fundamentally like change your team and you can crush for that reason. However, hitting on like a round 18 quarterback, at least we've never seen it mattering in best ball before outside of Superflex contest. Because like, let's say Jalen Milroe comes in, Sam Darnold gets injured or Sam Darnold sucks. And then Jalen Milroe is a starting quarterback and I'm projecting him out in my weekly rankings. Like, right, I'm having to make my week 15 quarterback rankings on the site. Jalen Milroe's the starter. We know he has all the rushing upside in the world. For that reason, I liked him in Dynasty Superflex rookie drafts. Where do I put him? Do I put him at QB 10, QB 11, QB 12? Because no matter what, he's not coming close to Lamar. He's not coming close to Allen. He's not coming close to Daniels. He's not coming close to Hurts. We know that we can probably pencil in one of the pocket passers like Purdy, Baker, et cetera, to have a pretty big week 17. So, like, since you only start one quarterback, like hitting on that low-owned round 18 quarterback, even if they have the rushing upside, probably doesn't matter as much. So I would be completely okay focusing in on the damn Vinny freaking taking Bowers from us. I was getting excited that we were going to get him. We'll take Higgins and possibly set ourselves up with round 7 Burrow. Or I'm sorry, round 6 Burrow. But like, I would rather just take Anthony Richardson than Jalen Milroe. Dayon says, our draft positions always random. I feel like I'm always drafting the back half of drafts or the 101, and I barely have Saquon or Jefferson shares because of that. Yeah, they're always random. Chad says, Mason, will you answer my super message while I'm on the live stream? Yes, if you have a super message on flockfantasy.com, please let me know what your name is on the site. I'd be super happy to answer it right now for you, and I'm very sorry that it hasn't been answered already. What do we want to do here? I think we probably go McBride. Yeah, we're going to go McBride. I think you could talk me, like, obviously I've been mixing in some of the elite quarterbacks here in the beginning of round 3 for a unique build. But when we take Higgins at 22, part of the reason for it, you know what? The McBride pick's bad. Here's something that's like a very interesting board dynamic that we maybe need to start looking at with our decision on when we take McBride in round 3 versus when we don't. If we have Marvin Harrison go off the board at pick like 25, 26, 23, 24, but if Harrison's already off in this range of the 2-3 turn and we can get McBride after him in round 3, what that allows for is that allows for us in round 8 to very easily get Kyler Murray. But if we take McBride or Harrison before one or the other, then what that's going to do is it makes it way less likely that we're able to get Kyler later on. So I don't know, but let me pull this up. The super message from Chad saying it's Tandy. Okay. I appreciate you, my guy. I know you've been with us forever, and dear God, I need to go and look at some of these on the site. But Jaden Daniels goes before Lamar. Draco takes Daniels here. Tandy says, is Judkins still worth the 106 in Dynasty for a contending team? So I'm assuming that you're talking about a 1 quarterback format. Because in a super flex league, I would say no. Like, let's go ahead and let's look at this. Superflex rookie rankings. Let me pull up my own. I have Genty, Hampton, Tet, Cam Ward, Hunter, Henderson, then Judkins at 7. So Superflex, I'd say no. 1 quarterback, you'd be determining between Judkins, Loveland, Warren. Which I'm kind of fine if you go either way there. we will take, we'll take James Cook. Why I feel comfortable taking a running back here rather than a receiver is we know we're not going to get, I mean, maybe we have him fall to us, Jalen Hurts, but in reality, it's probably not best for us to take Jalen Hurts here, knowing that we're trying to get Burrow at pick 70. So we'll just take a wide receiver in round 5. So in a one quarterback format, yes, I still think Judkins is worth the 106. Super flex league, take a different player. If it was like a pretty big tight end premium format, I think you can pivot to a tight end. Okay, Zay Flowers goes, we need a wide receiver no matter what. And y'all know I like me some Courtland Sutton. And Vinny at pick 4 has the dream start. Vinny at 4 has Jefferson, Bowers, Marv, Devonta Smith, and Jalen Hurts. So Vinny's team is 10,000 times better than ours. We're sitting with Bijan, James Cook at running back, T. Higgins, Courtland Sutton at receiver, and the elite tight end with Trey McBride. Another thing that we need to consider here in terms of that Trey McBride selection in the 3rd round, which I think was a bad pick. I don't think we should have taken McBride where we did. We already mentioned for the reason that Marv was on the board. So realistically, Marv on the board probably means that we're not going to get Kyler right, because just the positioning of the draft means that the Kyler team is going to be on the other side of us. Like they get first dibs on them. The second thing is when we go running back in round 1 with Bijan, it's probably more important for us to grab wide receivers there at the 2-3 turn, as opposed to if we would have gone with the wide receiver in Jefferson at pick 3. I think there you can afford the elite tight end pick with Trey McBride. So I think I don't love our draft so far. Maybe we have some decent picks here in the middle rounds, and I don't want to say we save it, but we make it better. We'll see. I think a lot of it hinges on our decision at the 2-3 turn to go with T. Higgins and Trey McBride. I think we should have passed on McBride where we did for the reasons we previously mentioned. I think we should have reached to have like a unique wide receiver like JSN here. Okay, Trevion Henderson goes pick 65. Debo goes 66. It's not to the team that has Daniels. I don't want to say much till we're on the clock. I would have taken Addison if he would have made it. Okay, I think we're safe to get Burrow. That was the team I was worried about taking Burrow because he had Chase Brown. So we are going to take Joe Burrow here to pair up with T. Higgins. And that actually is pretty exciting for us. Pacheco goes 71. Don't want to say anything till we're on the clock again. I don't know if these teams are watching the stream. Okay, so we're going to get a wide receiver guaranteed to us, which we're sitting with 2 wide receivers through the first 6 rounds. We need a wide receiver, right? Especially with our 2 wide receivers not being the best with T. Higgins and Courtland Sutton. So we're going to take Ricky Pearsall. If you look at the historical math that we've outlined, even if Jacoby Myers were more confident that he is a better receiver, the Raiders are sitting there with projections that could very easily have them as a bottom 5 offense this season, where the Niners are projected out to be a top 5 offense. There's a lot of uncertainty with Pearsall and pretty much every Niners receiver, but I just think that there are going to be more points to be scored here. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Savage says, is there any news on Addison? So what I have read is it sounds like Addison may be getting hit with a 2 to 3 game suspension, which obviously we have no idea. Those shall longer. This says Myers best quarterback yet. LOL. At the same time, sportsbooks have the Raiders projected to score the 6th fewest points in the league this year. So if you know more than sportsbooks, go hammer their hires. But I'm just gonna break some news to you. That you probably don't know more than sportsbooks. I know I don't. So if they tell us the Raiders offense should be bad, I'm probably going to listen to them that the Raiders offense should be bad. Regardless of my previous assumptions surrounding the Geno Smith pairing. Jalen Warren goes 92. Kyler goes, which to be honest with you, I'm not going to cry about because we kind of need a receiver regardless. We can pair up Ayuk with Ricky Pearsall and set ourselves up with a Purdy pick at 99 and only have to take 2 quarterbacks. Now, if we get a wide receiver we really like falling to us, we still need help at receiver where we only have Higgins, Sutton, Ricky Pearsall, and Ayuk. Quarterback, we could also go with Bo Nix instead of Brock Purdy to pair up Bo Nix with Sutton. Let me see real quick. Projections for these quarterbacks. Bo Nix 304, Purdy 288. What do we want? We'll take Bo Nix here. And then we're going to be done drafting these 2 quarterbacks. I think we strongly should have considered Cooper Kupp, just given the lack of wide receiver production that's going to be available to us in the coming rounds. The fact that wide receiver is by far and away the weakest part of our team, not even remotely close. Like wide receiver, we have T. Higgins, Cortland Sutton, Ricky Pearsall, Brandon Ayuk. Running back, we're solid. We have Bijan James Cook. We have an elite tight end with McBride. Great quarterback room with Burrow and Bo Nix. So we're done drafting quarterbacks. This is going to be a team where we probably draft 9 receivers, which you don't see very often from us. Sev asking where Rasheed Rice went in this draft. Rasheed Rice went at pick 41 to Draco. At that point, I'm not going to fault anybody for taking Rice. Again, I would confidently say that I think Rice is a bad pick in round 3. But in round 4, maybe early, I'm not going to be taking him much. But mid to late, go for it. Angus says, is Underdog not available in Canada? Underdog is available in Canada outside of Ontario, but it's not in Ontario. Justin says he just got Rasheed Rice at pick 56. I would 100% take Rasheed Rice at 56. Again, I haven't seen him fall that far. I think 41 is the furthest I've seen him fall in one of my drafts today, and this is my 4th draft of the day. Underdog is also not in Connecticut. Here is the map of where Underdog is available. This is the map if you want to see that. And then obviously I don't have Canada on there, but let me see. I know they sent me like an updated file. I'm not going to try to find that. They maybe sent me an updated map. I don't think any of the states or anything have changed, but maybe it's a different little graphic. Okay, Evan Ingram goes 112. I obviously would have been happy to take Evan Ingram with Bo Nix, but also I obviously need help at receiver. So whenever I Burrow and Bo Nix, 2 quarterbacks inside the first 100 picks, I probably can't take another quarterback, so they're going to be off our board. We're only looking at running back, wide receiver, and tight ends. If we decided to take another tight end here, we could only take 1 more, and then we'd be done at tight end as well. Okay. Okay, let's see what this team does. The team goes with Ramadre. So we will take Bateman. I think if we're looking at Bateman versus Luther Burden, I would be surprised if Luther Burden gives you a ton of production at the beginning of the season. And I think a big issue with our wide receiver room with how it currently sits is production at the beginning of the year, considering the fact that we have Ayuk probably not being at full strength until halfway through the season. So we'll take Bateman, hopefully get some usable weeks early from him. Even if I think in general, Bateman's not the best pick in the world, but kind of have to look at it. Let's see what this team does. If they don't, I will take Luther Burden. They take Hollywood, so we're going to get Luther Burden as well. I'm not the biggest Bateman. I'm not the biggest Luther Burden fans with where they typically go. But here, they both fall a considerable amount. And also, we already discussed that our team is garbage at wide receiver. Okay, let me make sure we follow that up. Because quarterback, we're great. We have Burrow stacked with Higgins. We have Bo Nix stacked with Sutton. We have the elite tight end with McBride. We have solid running backs with Bijan and James Cook. Wide receivers a lot better now that we get Bateman and Luther Burden falling. We have T. Higgins, Sutton, Pearsall wide receiver 3, Ayuk wide receiver 4, Bateman wide receiver 5, Luther Burden wide receiver 6. So, obviously, we kind of need one of these. We need Ayuk to be good this year. Or we need Luther Burden to be a massive rookie breakout. Like, we're going to need somebody here to surprise to the upside for sure. Okay. McCarthy goes 131. Stroud goes 130. Good for us to see this quarterbacks off the board. Pretty good price on McCarthy for this team. They didn't have any Vikings, but they just went and took the falling value. Which, where is the Addison team? Why did the Addison team not take him? Jordan Addison team decided to take Tyler Warren instead. Which you all know I love Tyler Warren. Nick says, did you do any of the rookies and sophomore drafts? No, I have not. I know I've said this before, but same thing with the new $6 drafts that Underdog has. I'm sure they're a ton of fun. And if you're just drafting to have fun, by all means, hop in them. But a big thing that I'm doing at this point of the year is I'm also practicing. One, I think these drafts are a ton of fun, like just the regular ones. And two, for me personally, I think that they're better practice for my redraft league, which I 100% need to be practicing for at this point. So I want to be getting in as many of these as I can. We will take Dallas Goedert. Yeah, I probably prefer Goddard over Kincaid. Grab him here at 142. And then we're done at tight end with Trey McBride and Dallas Goedert. We are just running back and wide receiver through the rest of this draft. Leggett goes 143. Michael says, when are we doing another Dalmatian draft? I think the Dalmatian draft's closed, which I was actually planning on. We're going to take, do we take Tillman? Or do we go with Garindo and go all in on the Niners? We're going to take Tillman. He's probably in, yeah, he's in 2 wide receiver sets, right? Tillman's the perfect example of somebody that would never make a difference in your regular fantasy football league because you would never know when to start him. But here, if he's going to be in 2 wide receiver sets, he can make a difference in best ball drafts. But I think the Dalmatian draft's already closed. I think it already filled. And I was planning on maxing it with the 3 entries, but I only got to draft 2 teams, which I was actually upset when I saw that. Okay. Judd says, what are we thinking with the Tyler Warren rushing upside this year? Should he see goal line carries? My thought process with Tyler Warren seeing goal line carries is, 1, Jonathan Taylor is a big-bodied running back. Two, they have Anthony Richardson if they wanted to go with some like wildcat type packages. Why don't they just throw Anthony Richardson back there? So I would be surprised if we see, like, I'm drafting a lot of Tyler Warren, but I'm not drafting him with any expectation that he's going to be in goal line packages running the football for him. Like, again, they have both Anthony Richardson and Jonathan Taylor, who I think are completely fine to run it in at the goal line themselves. Now, if he got drafted to a different situation, like say he got drafted to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, where Bucky Irving is their starting running back, or he got drafted to the Miami Dolphins, where it's like they're definitely not asking Tua to run it in. Devon Achane is a little bit of a smaller back as well. Then sure, I could see Tyler Warren maybe having a rushing touchdown or two this year. But I wouldn't be drafting him personally with those being your hopes or expectations on the Colts. But we are just running back and wide receiver through the rest of this draft again. We have 2 quarterbacks inside the top 100 picks, and then we have Trey McBride and Dallas Goedert. So I don't think we can take a third of either position. Roshan goes 163. We have 7 receivers and only 2 running backs. So we've definitely done the best that we could to play catch up at wide receiver through the rest of this draft. Jalen Wright off. Let's see where Vinny goes. I got a plan A and I got a plan B. Tank Bigsby goes. So we're going to take Dylan Sampson as our running back 3. Obviously, this is a big-time riser with the Quinshon Judkins potential suspension. Let's see what Reyes does. They go Tua, great for us. Tua 167, super low, no? Yeah, Tua had an ADP of 149. Which you don't love to see that when you go with quarterbacks early and then they start falling 20 picks past ADP. Dowdle off. We're going to take Pat Bryant as our 8th receiver. Again, another example of a player that in a regular redraft league probably makes no difference, no impact for you. But here in best ball, he can. And we have Bo Nix. So Pat Bryant as our 8th receiver makes a lot of sense. So now quarterback, we have Burrow stacked with Higgins. We have Bo Nix double stacked with Sutton and Pat Bryant. Tight end, we have Trey McBride, Dallas Goedert. So I really like our quarterback room. I really like our tight end room. Running back, we have Bijan, James Cook, and Dylan Sampson. Wide receiver, we have T. Higgins, Cortland Sutton, Ricky Pearsall, Brandon Ayuk, Rashad Bateman, Luther Burden, Cedric Tillman, and then Pat Bryant. So is it my favorite team I've ever drafted? No. I think we put ourselves in a little bit of a tough spot at the beginning of the draft. And I think we've done an okay job climbing out of it. But let's check out Vinny's team. Because Vinny's team at the beginning of the draft looked amazing. Vinny, quarterback, has Jalen Hurts paired with Devonta Smith. Kyler paired up with Marvin Harrison. Beautiful. Way better than ours. Tight end, he has Brock Bowers and Isaiah Likely. Beautiful. Better than ours. I would prefer Dallas Goedert Kincaid over Likely myself, though. Running back, he has Swift, Caleb, Tracy, Bigsby. So running back's his weakest spot. He should take at least 2 more running backs over the coming rounds. I would possibly consider 7 on this team. Wide receiver, he has Jefferson, Harrison, Devonta Smith, Shaheed, Kirk, and Palmer. See, I really like his squad. Yeah, and I like the Wandale pick too. But his biggest weakness is going to be running back. Let's move this back. I hate even saying this, but my simpleton brain wants to convince me I can draft 6 running backs on this team when I know that's not the case. Mason, here, I'm saying this out loud so y'all hold me to it. If I draft 6 running backs on this team, unsubscribe from the channel. Never watch the stream again. I want to, but I'm going to refrain from it. I need another receiver. I mean, us having like Sutton as our wide receiver 2, Higgins as our wide receiver 1. We just have to have all the depth in the world here. So just to make sure I don't screw myself, we will take Dyami Brown as our 9th wide receiver to make sure we get 9, and then we'll grab 2 more running backs. And Vinny, if you win Basketball Mania, I will officially promote you to Coca-Cola Vinny. And Coca-Cola Vinny will be demoted to RC Cola Vinny or Dr. Pibb Vinny. Keishawn Boutte off 193. Pick you don't see very often at all. We'll take Nick Chubb. I mean, the thought process with Dyami Brown is we just need wide receivers that are going to be in 2 wide receiver sets that are going to see the field. Dyami Brown has a shot to be in 2 wide receiver sets. The very worst case scenario is in 3 wide receiver sets. So that's like the type of player that would never matter in your regular league, but would matter in best ball. So here's the squad. A very weird team. And it's a very weird team that's not horrible, which personally, I kind of like that combo. But I'm going to go ahead and just queue up a couple of running backs here. I'm going to finish watching a movie with a lady tonight. We started last night the Motley Crue movie. Like where they go through and they like show the rise of Motley Crue and blah, blah, blah. I think it has Machine Gun Kelly in it. If it's not Machine Gun Kelly, it's a guy that looks just like him. The movies, I wouldn't recommend it to anybody, but it's just good enough that we probably should finish it after watching half of it, if that makes sense. If it was 1% worse, I wouldn't feel the need to finish it. But it's just good enough to finish. Palmer says it's a great movie. Daniel says it's also great. Maybe the second half's better than the first half, but I wasn't the biggest fan. But anyway, I appreciate y'all. And of course, I'll be live tomorrow night. Hopefully the editor has a video done in the morning for y'all as well. But we'll be drafting teams tomorrow, the next day, the day after that. So please just make sure, come out. I will see you then. And we're going to be drafting teams on Underdog Fantasy. You can find that link in the description, comment section, live chat, everywhere. Use promo code FLOCK if you want our rankings and draft guide cheat sheets this year. I really do think that they'll help you out, but appreciate it, ladies and gentlemen. And I hope we get to see you out tomorrow night.